Are you making a video? I can be quiet.
I'm doing a live stream. So I'm live right now. Yeah, no, you can talk. I am talking with my sweet Maria, my wife, and today I am going to show you guys how to make the Mamma Mia mouse. So this is trout season is coming up, and this fly is great for bass, pike, muskie, and trout. So those are the kinds of fish. Oh, and on a smaller version, I often catch sunfish and panfish. And because this fly has a little trailer hook in the tail, often I will catch sunfish and panfish that just try and take a nibble of the tail. So I've caught some pretty cool fish with this fly. It comes in a smaller version. So this is I'm going to call it the half of Mamma Mia mouse. This one, I catch a lot of rock bass and sunfish and bluegills and crappies with it. And yes, of course, trout and bass do love the little one. But today, I'm going to show you the big one because there's nothing quite as cool as having a big bass or a big trout come and take it. Now I know today is actually March 20th, so we're not into bass season yet, but we're definitely into trout season. And I know it's not opener, but you can fish. I'm in Ontario, Canada, and in some of the places, our rivers, we can fish the mouth of the creek for trout already. So if you run this across on an overcast day across the creek, you will catch nice giant trout on this. So let's get started. So some of the things you're going to need. So the tail is a pink cord. I just get it at the dollar store. And we'll cut off a strip of that. And so it doesn't unravel, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our lighter and we're just going to melt the tail and just give it once you melt it a little bit, just give it a bit of a roll, and that's not going to unravel on you. You don't have to worry about the other end because it's going to be on a hook. So our next step is to get our little trailer hook. And we're going to use a size 16 for our trailer hook. Always good to have a hook gauge with you. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that in our vise. And we're going to get out our bobbin. And we're going to put our pink thread on it, which I already put on. So we'll get that started. And you just want to start at the eye of the hook. And you want to wrap down past the point to just where the bend is. And then you don't have to do quite as tight wraps, and you work your way to back up to the eye. So now you want to tie on your tail, and you want to just leave a couple of millimeters out the end, and then you're going to put your longest part of your tail facing forward. And you're going to use nice tight wraps, and you're going to pull pretty tight on your thread. And you're going to go back down to where the bend of the hook is, like so. All right, and then we'll just work our way up one more time to the top. And make sure that's all blended in there. And as you can see, the pink blends in pretty well with the pink. All right, so we'll take our 2 fingers, give it a little twist, 2 twists, and then we'll tie it down. 2 fingers, 2 twists, tie it down. All right. Now, that's pretty secure. I usually do that 2 or 3 times. I'm going to do it 3 times just for good measure. And we'll take our tying scissors. We'll trim that up. And just to make sure that that's, I mean, that isn't going anywhere. I mean, you can give that a good pull, but just for good measure, we'll take our crazy glue. And we'll cover that hook with crazy glue. And now that is tied in there. That is not going anywhere. Beautiful. Okay, so that's our tail. So we're going to put that off to the side. So the next thing we're going to make is the bottom part of the body. And as you can see, it's a jointed body. And what we're going to use for that joint are Christmas tree hooks. They work really well. They're really sturdy and they don't rust. I mean, they probably will rust, but not immediately, which is good. So for the 2 parts of our mouse, we're going to need 2 hooks, and they need to be size 4s. Yeah. So we're going to get 2 size 4 hooks. I'm going to put the first one in our vise, like so. Lock it in. Okay, so here I'm going to get my other bobbin out. Of course, it's tangled up. And the thread I like to use for most flies, I use this for most flies really, unless I'm trying to make a certain color on a fly, is my ultrafine invisible thread. I find it holds up really nice. It's really durable and it blends into most flies, so you don't see your thread, which is really nice. So we're going to start at the top of our eye. We're going to tie down a really good base. Work our way back up. Like so. All right. Now, before we do anything else, we're going to take our little tail. And the tail of our mouse, if you can see, we want it to be 2 hook lengths up. So 2 of those hook lengths. So if you measure it up to your hook, 1, 2. All right. And then you can tie it in. All right. I always tie it in so that my hook is flat down, so it aligns with the other hooks. But in all honesty, it isn't really going to matter. So once you tie it in, you're going to tie it in all the way down to the hook bend, like so. All right, so you can see our hook is like that. Let me just see if I can. Let's see if I can get a bit clearer view for you guys. There you go. That's probably a little better. All right, so work your way back up. Now see where you got this tag end? Instead of trimming it off right there, I like to fold it over and tie it down and work my way to almost to the bend, and then I'll trim it off. I'll just put that piece aside, and then I'll just go up and down, giving it several really nice tight wraps. And this just ensures that it's nice and tight, and of course that isn't gonna move. And if you really want, you can just put some crazy glue on it, and then it isn't going to pull out. And this way, whether you catch a fish on the back hook or the front hook, it isn't going to matter one way or another, because that isn't going to pull out of your fly, no matter what kind of fish you hook it. And I've caught just as many fish, large fish on the back hook as I have on the front hook. So, okay. So, what we want to do is we're going to take our Christmas tree wire, and we are going to take our pliers, and we are pretty much going to cut it in half, because we are going to need 2 pieces. So I'm going to make, with my looping pliers, I'm going to make a straight loop, 1 straight loop. So basically it is going to look like that. And what I like to do is leave the eye of the hook, because it's, see how the eye has a little bend? I don't want to cut it off, because I don't want any of that wearing and tearing. So it's nice and smooth. But that eye is on a little bit of an angle, and when you straighten it, it usually snaps off if you're not super careful. And I just don't want to have the hassle. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add our wire loop so that it goes just in front of the actual eye of the hook. And when you tie that in, it's going to be really straight, and you want to really tie it in good. So be generous with your thread. Go around the new loop. All right. And then tie it down over the old eye. And again, you're going to be really, really, really liberal with it. All right, that's in. It's not. It's certainly not moving, and I'll even. Yeah, that is not coming out. But just to be on the safe side, you got it. A little bit of crazy glue. By the way, anytime you add crazy glue to a fly, make sure you grab your bobbin and pull it out of the way, because there's nothing worse than dropping crazy glue. A drop of crazy glue getting into your actual bobbin. And then make sure you wipe off the tip of your crazy glue before you put the lid on. It will help the next time that you don't have to peel off that little gunky part. And then I'll just go over everything again. like so. Fantastic. Okay. So our next step is to make, we'll just call it the shell, but it's really the back. It's not fur. It's just made out of foam, but we color it to look like fur afterwards. But this is the foam that keeps it afloat. So you got your foam legs, your foam, we'll call that the shell. And then you got your ears and your nose and your feet are made of foam. But we're gonna put in the back shell now for the back, and that we are going to make out of brown fun foam. Now you can use any color fun foam. You can make this a gray mouse. You can make it a dark brown mouse, so you can use a dark brown. But for today, I'm going to make it out of this. And you want to make it the width of your mouth. Now, I don't know what the width of that is. You're going to have to just eyeball it. We will call it an inch. Let's just say it's an inch. I'm going to say it's around an inch. So you want to cut a strip of fun foam, craft foam, that's roughly an inch. All right, we'll put that off to the side. And what you want to do is you want to come up to the eye, where the eye of the hook is. And this is another reason I tie in that second eye, because you want to tie your craft foam in at just covering up the original eye of the hook. All right. So you're just going to give that a pinch and you're going to wrap that on. And you don't have to wrap it too tight, because all the little air pockets in the foam are actually going to give it more buoyancy. Because this fly floats like the dickens, and it is incredible. The moving action of this fly is just incredible. And you want to go right to the bend, all the way to the bend. And then you can take your foam, and as you can see, it's going to shape around and give you that nice mouse body. Spectacular. Okay, so the next thing you're going to need is some broom bristles. You could use the Christmas wire if you can't find broom bristles. I use the broom bristles because they are lighter, and it's for me. You want the fly to be as light as possible. So I mean, everything you can take out of it, you take out of it, right? But what we're going to do, you use these thick, I use the thick black broom bristles. Usually the Oscar brooms have the really thick ones. So if you find an Oscar broom, get one of those. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to pull up our craft foam. We're going to go maybe about an inch up from the bend of the hook, and we're going to poke a hole. So we'll pinch our craft foam, poke a hole through, so that our broom bristle can go through like that. All right, so let me just show you. So that's what you want it to be. So basically when we put our belly fur in and tie this down, then we're going to be able to attach the feet onto that. So just like this. So our feet are attached, and see how they're really free flowing. So if a fish bites it, they're not going to get in the way of the hook. They're not going to prevent the fish from biting. They're gonna move and allow the fish to get a good bite on that hook. So That's why we make our feeties like that. Plus, because they move when the whole mouse is moving, they kind of bob up and down in the water. So it just gives it a lot more kicking action. All right, so we're going to fold that back for now. And we are going to get our craft fur, our faux, this is called faux fur. It comes on a, I got a whole bunch of it here. So this is faux fur. You can get it at Walmart, at the dollar store. You can order it online. So I'm going to get a strip of that and give it a snip. This also comes in a lot of different colors. So it comes in just white, just black. I've never seen it in gray, but I'm sure if you look around, you can find it. But it's a really cool color because it's like a whitish brown color tinge to it. So it's really, really cool. And you'll see it go the direction it goes in. So it goes from front to back. So what you want to tie in is the front section where it shows that it's pushing backwards. So what we're going to do is we're going to tie that into our Mamma Mia mouse. And you do want a fairly long strip of that. So as you can see, like I want a couple of arm lengths, because as you wrap it around, you don't want to run out. So it's always better to have more than less. So we're going to take our thread. We're going to very lightly, like very gently, like just loop it over our foam, because you don't really want to compress that foam any further. So you just need to tie in heavy at the tie-in points. Okay, so we're going to start with our fur. We're going to start to wrap it. And as you wrap it, you're going to pull the fur backwards with every wrap. And you're going to line up. If you see there's like this little strip that's attached to the fur, you're going to line it up so that is what is making contact with the hook. And you're just going to do touching wraps. So as you pull it back, you're just going to touch the edge of the other one and do the next, and so on and so forth. Now, make sure that you didn't cover up your hook. Now, you can't really see the hook at this point, so you just have to feel with your fingers and just go slowly to make sure you don't poke yourself with the hook. And we're just going to continue up the body. And again, just every time you do a wrap, pull the fur back. And as you can see, it makes this really nice fur body. And the most important thing about this fly is its underside. Well, in most flies, really. But any topwater or surface flies, you really want to focus on the underside of a fly, because that is the side, of course, the fish is going to seize. So you want it to look good. So this fur really looks like a mouse belly. So as we get to the head of the fly, you don't want to crowd the eye, because you're going to need a place to tie down your foam, right? So when you get maybe an eye length away from the front, you're going to tie it down with your thread. You can just wrap your thread through the fur, just work it through. You don't have to worry if it's gets a couple of strands caught in there. It doesn't really matter. You just want to tie it down really good to make sure that. Here, let me lock down my vise. So you just want to make sure it's tied in there really good. Then you can go in with your scissors and go as close as you can and trim it out. Now if you have a little piece over, we're going to use that for the front. All right, and then we'll just push our fly fur back a little bit, and we'll just tie it down. Give it a few good wraps. And at this point, I like to do some half hitches, lock it in, make sure that if I happen to trim off anything, the rest of the fly isn't going to come apart. All right. So there you go. Now you got your mouse fur. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our craft foam. We're going to push it forward to the front. And you want to pull it tight, but you don't want it so tight. Like when you compress craft foam, you take out the air pockets. So anytime you're fishing with craft foam, you want the foam to be as loose as you can do without losing the integrity of the fly, because the looser it is, the more air pockets, the longer and better it'll stay afloat. And these flies, I fished these flies all day long and they don't sink. So, it's a pretty impressive fly. So once you get it to the where you want it, you can just adjust it a little bit from side to side, make sure it's even on both sides. You can just take your fingers and spread out the craft fur at this point to make sure it looks really nice. All right. And again, you're about just behind the eye, around the eye, the second, like the metal eye that we put in. All right. And then just when you get it 100%, tie it down. And we can then take our scissors, trim off the excess, which we will use for the top. And now we can do our half hitch knots. Again, I do 3 or 4 of those. Now, one thing I can tell you, and this only comes with practice, is how much tension to use on your foam. Any kind of thread will cut through craft foam. It'll cut through it. So you have to learn how to use enough tension to lock it in, but not so much tension that you cut through the foam. So see how we got this little bits hanging out? We're going to just cut that flush so that it's nice and smooth. Now, of course, I'm going to take my crazy glue and on the whole line of thread, I'm going to put some, and on the bottom, I'm going to put some just to lock that in. And now that's not going anywhere. Okay. So, as you can see, looking pretty mousy. You could probably fish that the way it is, and it would probably do really good. But that's not what we're doing. So I'm going to show you a few more steps. And I'm going to grab another little piece of craft foam. just so I don't forget, that's going to be the ears and the feet. Okay, so we want our feet to be almost as wide as the back, because mouse have really funny little feet. So they have really thin legs, and then they have really big feet at the back. So you're going to want to cut another strip of craft foam roughly about the same height. Oh, I got a piece of metal here. Don't want that on the floor. Okay. So what you're going to do is take a pair of pliers or hemostats, and you want to make sure that your broom bristle is even on both sides. I'm just making sure it's even there. And then you're going to take your hemostats. You're going to go out a couple millimeters from the craft foam, and you're going to bend your broom bristle so that it makes a little U shape. And basically, that's what we're going to attach our foam feet on. All right. So the feet of your mouse are actually going to be the length of the bottom section of the body. So when you cut your craft foam, you can fold it in half, measure the length of the body, and then trim it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to just take the foam and trim it. Now you have two even pieces. Okay, now to make the feet, we're just going to pick one end of our craft foam, and we're going to cut from corner to corner into the center, but not all the way to the center, like to the halfway point. And it's going to be like a little triangle form there. And then you're going to go from the very center, and you're going to cut back in like so. And that is how you form your little mouse feet. All right. And then when we glue it onto our broom bristles, it's gonna make the legs of the mouse. Okay. This is also how I make frog feet. Now, they're a little thick, so I'm going to fold it in half, just below the size what we want our foot to be. I'm going to fold it in half. I'm just going to go in with my scissors and just trim off a couple of millimeters off of each side. Okay, so it's going to look like that. So that's how you want your foot to look. All right, so we're going to do that with the other foot. I'm going to fold it in half, go in at the size of the foot, do a little 1 millimeter cut, and then trim a millimeter off of each side. Beautiful. Okay. And these broom bristles are just a little longer than I need them to be. So I'm going to cut them even, but make sure they're evenly cut, because you want them to be pretty much the same size. Okay. So this is the part where the fly gets a little crazy. Oh yeah. And on the foot, on the part of the leg that's going to connect up to the fly, you just want to cut a corner off of that so that it's a little bit rounded. And I'm going to do the same on the other one. So it's got, you'll see that it's just got a nice rounded edge. This is just going to stop any friction or anything from the feet. So this part you have to be really quick and precise, and it is tricky, but it is so cool. So you're going to take your crazy glue and you're going to rub it on your craft fur, and you're going to pinch it on to the right in the crease onto the broom bristle. And you might get a little bit of the fur, as I did here, into the crease. Fear not, it won't be that, it shouldn't be that much, and you can just go with your scissors and trim it out, and it should make your leg really free. Okay, so that's part one. And we're going to repeat that same steps onto the other side. Now the best part about the other side is because you've already got one leg in, it will allow you to just be able to move it out of the way, and it'll give you a better grip. All right, so now we got our legs in. Okay. So at this point, we're going to take our fly out of the vise. We're going to take a garbage can, which I have here. We're going to place it under our feet. And we are going to take our scissors and we are going to trim the underbody of our fly. And we're going to trim it evenly, just on the bottom, not on the sides, just on the bottom, all the way to the hook, right to the bend of the hook. And basically, that is just going to open up your hook. And this will help to increase your hook penetration. So when the fish bites your mouse, there's a better chance that it is going to get it into the mouth. All right, so basically that's what you want. You want to be able to see your hook. There's your other hook and your little feeties, and that's what the fish is going to see. And afterwards, we'll just do a step where we paint it. We're just going to paint the feeties pink, and yeah, there's a couple of different steps. So you can take a brown marker, a Sharpie marker, and just give texture to make it look furry. But I mean, we're looking for this really mousy look. All right, so that's, you could start coloring it at this point if you want. I like to finish it and then color it, color the whole thing together. But that's up to you, what you want to do. And you won't find anything like this in the stores. I can guarantee that. kind of created this pattern, so you won't find a jointed. There's other jointed mice. I don't know if you you won't find any really, as far as I'm concerned, you won't find any super mouse patterns in the stores. I've fished a lot of mice patterns, and I'm really happy with this mouse pattern. It really does it. But I mean, everybody does their own thing. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my second hook. I'm going to put it in the vise, and I'm going to get my dub and loop pliers. I'm going to say that every fisherman is biased, because we all have our own favorite lures, what works for us. And I think it a lot of the times has to do with what you were introduced to. So, if you were introduced to fly fishing first, you're probably set on fly fishing. If you're introduced to rubbers or lures or spoons, you're probably pretty set on those things. I mean, we usually tend to do those type of things. Okay, so attach your thread right below the eye of the hook. And you're going to put down, again, a pretty solid baseline. They don't have to touch. They just have to be on there solid. And again, you want to go right down to the bend. All right. So now that we've attached our other loop, we're going to go a little bit past the bend of our hook, and we are going to tie that in. And this, you want to put as much pressure as you can without snapping your thread. Again, I cannot teach you that. That is something you have to learn by trial and error, or trial by fire, we call it. So when we say tight lines, you have to understand what that means, tight lines. So you only learn that by actually doing it. And again, you want to go back and forth, up and down a bunch of times. When you get to the part of the end where you snipped it off, because it is wire, you want to be careful, because that's where if you rub up against that, you will snap your thread, no matter how tight you have it, and no matter what type of thread you use. So be cautious of that. And after we get a few good wraps in there, we're going to take our crazy glue. We're going to put a bead of crazy glue all along the whole thing. Wipe off the tip of our crazy glue. And then we're going to go over it a bunch more times. And this is just going to ensure that it is locked in. And again, there's no way to tell you how many wraps, but I can just tell you, use a lot of wraps. What you feel is a lot, use them. You can't put too many wraps. There's not too many flies where too many wraps is a bad thing, but if you're trying to make a light fly or a sparse fly, then yeah, too many wraps can be a bad thing. If you're trying to make a heavy bushy fly, you can almost assuredly not put too many wraps into a fly. But I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. You can put too many wraps in a fly, but not often. Okay, so we're going to let that sit for a couple of minutes and just dry up and harden up. So while we do that, we're going to take a piece of pink craft foam. And we are going to put a nose on this fella. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Okay, so take your little dubbin poker. Man, my brain is shot. It's early in the morning, by the way.
Hello, Jody. This is your mommy.
Hey, my mom's calling.
Why
Why are you ignoring your mommy?
Hello? Hi. I'm okay. Yes. Jody's just doing a live stream. That's why I answered. Yeah, he's just tying a fly.
Hello, mommy.
But he said hello. Yeah.
A little biased, but I have the world's best mom.
Yeah, I just took Tylenol last night.
Okay, so once you poke your hole through your foam, like so,
Mhm.
you're going to put it through the eye, and then you're going to tie it down on the one side,
Sure.
on the end, and you want to leave about
Nothing yet.
you want to leave about 2 millimeters up to the front. Then you're going to take your crazy glue,
I know.
and you're going to
Yeah.
put a dab of crazy glue
Absolutely.
on your foam. Then you're going to fold it over and pinch it down. And then you're going to tie it down.
Oh, thank you.
Tell Mom when I'm done the live stream, I'll give her a shout.
Okay, and Jody said he'll call you when he's done.
Okay, so now we're going to cut our pink foam off. So as you can see, you got a bit of a nose forming there.
Okay.
And we'll just trim it around to make it look like a little round nose. Ow. All right, so, and then if you have any extra little bits, you can just tie that off. So at this point, a lot of you guys watching me always want to see whiskers on the mouse. I'm going to tell you the whiskers make no difference. I usually, when I tie them for myself to fish with, I usually do not put any whiskers on the mouse. But I know that in the comments somewhere later on, somebody's going to go, you should have put in whiskers. Okay, so for you guys who want to see whiskers, take a bunch of white broom bristles, little white broom bristles, and just make sure they're sort of even on each side. And you're going to put them in. And you're going to crazy eight it, and you might have to adjust them as you go because it's a little bundle of broom bristles. And actually, I didn't get them up close enough to the nose. I want them closer to the nose than that. I'm going to flip it on the side so you guys can see this. And of course, just adjust them so they look even on each side. You're going to tie it in one side, and you're going to go around the other side and tie it in. That's better. And you're going to tie them in pretty tight, because if you want them to stay into the pattern when they get smacked down by a bass or a trout or a pike or a muskie, you want them to be solidly in there. Otherwise, they're just going to come out. And then why put them in? Which brings me back to my point. I don't usually put them in. But again, I've been making enough flies on YouTube that I know that people are going to put some in the comments. Why didn't you put the broom bristles in? Okay. So there's broom bristles. Ta-da! There's your whiskers. Now you're just going to take your fingers and spread them apart. And you want to spread them apart before you add the crazy glue, because if you don't, the crazy glue is going to spread throughout them. And what the crazy glue is going to do is lock them all together, and then you won't be able to spread them apart. And then they won't look like whiskers. They'll look like two weird lumps of material off the side of your fly. And you don't want that to happen. Okay. Give a couple of seconds for those broom bristles the crazy glue to dry up, and then push your broom bristles forward a little bit. Now we're going to go back to our initial craft fur. We're going to go in just below the whisker bristles. And then we're going to tie that in. And again, don't tie it really tight. You don't want it to be super, super tight. And you want to go down to the bend of the hook like you did in the first piece. And you want to, so I don't know if this is going to show well on camera, but you don't want to cover up that loop, but you don't want that whole loop to be seen. So you want to go back far enough with your tie, your craft foam, so that it doesn't cover up that loop. And we'll just, once you fold it back over, just make sure. So you want to be able to move freely, because that's what gives your mouse that jumping, wiggling pattern when you're retrieving it. And then you're able to push down your craft fur, and now because we don't have legs on the front, we can just attach our fur. Now, some of you might be wondering, why are there no front feet on the mouse? Do mouse not have front feet? Yes, mice have front feet. But when a mouse swims, if you watch a mouse swimming in the water, a video of that, and I have watched lots of those videos, what you're going to find is a mouse will tuck its front legs in tight to its body, and it will look like it's all one thing on the front, and they only kick with their back feet. And they actually move their tail a bit. So the front feet are going to just get in the way of the way the fly moves and take away from the actual image of the fly. I have put them in. I used to put them in because I'm all about the realism, but then I did find that for actual fishing purposes, they got in the way. So I dropped them out. Again, trial and error, right? So once you tie in your faux fur from the back, and you want to tie it as close to the back as you can, right? Snug it up against the edge of the craft fur. You're going to basically do the same as you did on the front. You're going to tie it in. And you're going to, as you wrap your fur around, you're going to pull it back, wrap it in, 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 pull it back. And you're just going to keep doing that until you get right up to where those whiskers are tied in. Okay. just going to push those whiskers back and do one wrap right around to the front where the pink of the nose is. Okay, now you can tie that down like so. And you can take your handy dandy scissors. You can just go in there and give that a snip. And just be careful when you go in there and snip it off that you don't cut off your actual thread, because that will be very annoying. You won't be happy with that. Okay. So, because we don't have no legs or anything, we don't have to worry about that. We can just tie over our craft fur, and we'll just push down our fur so that it's in line with the rest of the fly. And we are going to go up just behind the whiskers. We're going to pinch our craft fur, not too tightly, and you can adjust it. You can give it a little bit of a tug just to make sure it's good. Pull out the little fur before you tie it down. Make sure it's all lined up. And we can tie down our fur. And we have a little bit of fur around the nose, which is cute. It looks like it's a furry little mouse nose. Again, add a few more wraps. Okay. So, what we're going to do now is so see there's a lot of fur coming out the nose. We don't want it to be that much fur coming out the nose. So we're just going to go in there and trim that flush so it just has a little fuzzies, but it's not in there. So we're going to make the head of the fly now so it has a little bit of a buoyant yet tapered head. So we're going to take our thread and we're going to do like a cross, go right across the body about half an inch or an inch in, and then we're going to wrap it underneath, pull it through the fur, give it a little twist through as we do, and then we'll just wrap it around a couple of times, pull your fur out, making sure that it's not trapped in there too badly. All right, and then there's your little channel where you can tie. So what we're going to do now, take some crazy glue, pull our bobbin out of the way. We're going to put some crazy glue on our foam, just in the little head section there. And we're going to pull that flat, pinch it down, and then we will tie that down. And that is just going to make a really nice little head section. And that is going to be a place where we can attach our eyes. Okay. Like so. The next thing we're going to do, I need a different pair of scissors. I need my round tire scissors, my Dr. Schlicks. I'm going to cut that round. And you can do this with a straight scissors, but it's a little harder to do. All right, so now you got a little piece extra like that. And take my thread, put it on the edge of that foam, and I'm just going to push it in so that it looks a little more uniform, like so. All right. And again, you could probably fish with this fella now as it is, but you might as well make it look really nice. So this is the part where we're going to form the ears on our mouse. So with that extra piece of foam that we had, you want to fold it in half. And actually, where did I put my Dr. Slicks? You want to fold it in half, take your Dr. Slicks, and you want to cut a little circle out of your foam, but you don't want to cut the middle. You just want to, so that it looks like a little 8. Okay? So those are going to be our ears. And how you form the ears is you take your crazy glue and you push with your fingers, you push the ears down in the center like that. And you add just a dab of crazy glue in the center. And you push it down, hold it down, and you can take your and just make sure that it stays. So that's how you get your little round ears. And now, one thing that is really cool is that craft fur and crazy glue bond really good. So take a dab of crazy glue, dab it in the middle between your ears, and you want to stick it right over that area where your thread is showing, like so. And then come up in the front and do one wrap in front of the ears, come up from behind and go around the other side. Do 2 wraps and then go one more wrap on the other side. And that is just going to hold your ears into place. You can just point them up a little bit. And if you get any little furs trapped into that part, just come out and pull them out with your fingers, like so. Okay. So we're going to do tie off here. So take your 2 fingers, 1/2-inch loop, tie it off. You're going to put 4 or 5 of those in here. If you want to whip finish it, whip finish it. Lots of debate on whip finishers. I have one. I use it. I know how to use it. There are some situations where you do have to use it, but most situations you don't. But again, that's personal preference. Just remember, anything you learn from me is my personal preferences. They're not absolutes in fly tying, because there are no absolutes in fly tying. Fly tying is a very creative genre. It's a passion, and if you're into it, there's all kinds of different views on it and how to do it. So that's up to you what you wanna do or not do. So mouse eyes. Basically, a mouse eye is just a Google eye. So you could just put a Google eye on this point, mouse done. But I like my eyes to be either black or red, because I really find that they really represent a mouse's eyes. Most wild mice have black eyes. I have some red ones that I've made up, and I have some black ones. For today, I'm going to use black ones because my personal preference on a mouse eye is black. I'm not 100% sure the fish are taking that good look of a look to see, but I can tell you it does make a difference. Every little bit makes a difference. So we're going to take our black mouse eyes, and we're going to put them on there, or your Google Eye. They go on either side of your mouse. They do not go stuck together. That is a very unnatural look for a mouse. So I would not do that. All right. So you just want to push them in a little bit. The way you make a mouse eye, a black mouse eye, is literally take a piece of tape, put it on a little piece of Bristol board or cardboard, tape it down on the ends, tape the sticky side up, put the Google Eye on there, take some black or red nail polish, depending on which color eye you want, and you basically paint it black, let it dry for 10 minutes, and then you have a black Google Eye. And those are good for mice and other things, frogs and what have you. Okay, so now they're on really well. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to take some pink nail polish, shake it really well, and we are going to take our, actually, before we do any of that, we are going to trim our underbelly of our mouse, so to reveal the second hook. So just like the first one, we're going to start at the front, and we're just going to trim the underbelly of our mouse to reveal the front hook. If you don't do this, or if you forget to do this, in all honesty, I'm going to say it probably is not going to stop you from hooking into fish. If anything, it might act a bit like a weed guard. So if you're fishing this for bass in swampy areas, chances are maybe even the fur will help you. But once it gets wet, it probably isn't going to help you all that much. But I know if you're fishing this for trout, like I do, I want to get the best chance of a hookup ratio as I can. So I just trim those hairs down to expose it. Plus, it makes the belly fur look white with a brownish trim. And I think that just gives it a really natural, mousy look. Okay. So, and the other thing is, depending on the waters you're fishing it, Obviously, different waters have regulations. I only fish in Ontario, so again, I'm biased to my flies because most places in Ontario where I fish, I'm allowed to use 2 hooks or up to 3 hooks in a fly. You know, so if you're allowed to, I suggest to use them. If you don't want to, or if your regulations say you can only have 1 hook, you'll have to pick what you want. So you may have to leave off the trail or hook off the back. Um, Again, if you're going for big bass or trout or muskie or pike, you may not need that hook anyways. So it'll be up to you. Do you want the back hook, the front hook? You can always cut the hook off, whichever hook you don't feel is best, and you can trial and error it. So if you make one, cut the front off. If you make one, cut the back off, and see which hook is better. But I am allowed to fish this the way it is where I fish. So thank you for our game wardens and things, the ministry letting us to do that. But I've caught fish on every part of this fly, the tail, the middle, and back. So I couldn't even begin to tell you which one I would cut off because I don't have to, and so I wouldn't. So that's something you would have to play around with. But I basically just wanted to show you the basic mouse. And this, you can go out with this as is, and it's going to attract fish. And the belly is, the tail is what's going to do it. But I like to make it just a little more realistic. So I take some pink nail polish and I'll go over the feet. And then it kind of matches the flesh because the under the fur of a mouse is pink. And their feet, the bottom of their feet have no fur on it. So it's fleshy. So that's how you get the little feet to look like feet. So see, that little thing, that little trick alone made it look that much mousier, right? And then of course we have the little pink nose. And I do like to go in the ears. So you just go into the ears with your nail polish. If you don't have nail polish, you could use a pink Sharpie marker. If you got a pink Sharpie marker around and you can't find the pink nail polish, and try to use like a powdery pink, not a neon pink. It'll just look a little more natural. So you see, now you got. And of course, if you want the nose to match, you can always color the nose the same as the inside of the ears. You could just do the nose and it'll be, but I'm not going to do that today. If you choose to, you can always just use the nail polish on the nose and have it. All right. The last couple of things I like to do, again, you can take that out right now and you can fish it. But one of the things I like to do, if I can find it here, I've got so many, and the shades of brown you use, that's completely up to you. If you want to use like a really dark brown, you can make your mouse really dark brown on top. You can make them light brown. Again, if you use like a gray, you can use a gray. So I just want this mouse to look a little more furish. So I've got this kind of tan brown marker, and I'm just gonna put little marks on it to make it look and you don't want to like color it solid. You want to like color it so it's got little so it's got patterning in it. So you just want to do little tiny short strips in it, and it's going to make it have like that fur effect so that it looks like it's fur on top. Now, like I told you before, the fur on the top probably isn't going to matter that much because they're not going to see that because this fly floats top up. So that the fur on the top is not so important. You don't have to panic about it. I like to do the trim around the ears just to make it blend in. Right? And I mean, you can go as crazy as you want. Like once you get it to this point, it's pretty much a working fly. It's going to catch fish. There's no doubt about it. I've caught them at where I've rushed some and I didn't put in the last steps. I was going on a trip or whatever. But it's not important. So now that you did the top part, now just go back down and do the same thing to the bottom part. If you get really good at these, they make good gifts for your fly fishing buddies. So if you know anybody you're looking for a Christmas gift or a birthday gift for, I guarantee they'll appreciate the fact that you took the time to make them a couple of these or one of these. I don't know how long we've been going for now, an hour, a couple hours or something like that, but they do take a bit to do them. All right, so when you get to the feet, I like to just fold the feet up, do one strip under the feet like this. And then I will just do the trim so that it, again, looks like it's naturally blend in, go in between the toes. I did kind of rush this. You can make, again, you can make it look more fancy. I'll oops, I got some on my marker. Try not to get your. The other thing is try to let your nail polish dry before you do this part with the marker, because you don't want to get nail polish in your markers because that'll kill your markers. Right, just go over the feet, do the same sort of little squiggly lines on the feet. All right. So now you basically have this, and then I'll just take the brown, the dark brown, and I'll go over and I'll just throw some highlights in there, or we'll call them dark lights because they're dark strips. But anyways, go in, just put a few on the feet. So then you got this guy, and if you want so that the color doesn't fade or bleed, you can just take some clear nail polish. Make sure when you're using your nail polish you have a paper towel handy, piece of paper towel, like so. And you're just gonna go, oh, okay, no brush in that one. Spectacular.
Do you need a brush?
Nope, I have a brush. Thanks, honey. Just make sure when you go over your mouse, you're just gently coating it. You're not rubbing it. You're just gently applying the nail polish. And you just want to go over and coat it over. And you want to coat it on the feet. And before you dab in your nail polish brush, on every dab, you want to just kind of like give it a wipe and wipe off any of the things, because if you keep dabbing in and out of your nail polish, it's going to turn it brown. Now, if you have a designated nail polish, clear nail polish for flies like that, then don't worry about it. But if you don't, then you're going to want to protect it, because it's quite expensive. And if you're using it on other flies, and then I'll just do underneath the little bit I did under the feet, on the legs, and there you go. There is your Mamma Mia a mouse. And this fly is a spectacular killer. So it will catch you a lot of fish. So I'm a catch and release guy. So I like to catch and release. So I let all my fish go. But that's, again, you can get really fancy. Trim it more, trim it special, whatever. But that's the basics of it, guys. So tie up some of the Mamma Mia mouse. Let me know in the comments how it does for you. If you enjoyed this video, thumbs up, like it, share it, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you like, what you don't like. If you have any fly suggestions, any kind of flies you'd like to see, let me know. If you want to check out my groups, I'm Super Flies for Super Guys. I also have the Ontario Fly Tying and Fly Fishing group. I have Not Your Grandfather's Flies group. So, yeah, check it out, guys. Thanks for watching. Yeah, fish on and tight lines. Okay, bye for now.